Hi guys, so video 3 of the evening. I've just done a couple of them. The first one of which I set up my list for Thursday night. Just randomly pulled those out of the deck, had a bit of fun with it. So I've got those, that's ready for Thursday. The second one, I've gone through the 0 point command cards. I didn't do the others in the end just because of time. The video was getting quite long. I think it'd be better to cut it into bite-sized chunks, do 0, 1, 2, and then start going through the specific keywords. But what I'm going to do now is to build the command card that I have for this list. Right, so I will just remind you of what I have in this list. I will slap these down and then let you know. So the list is, and I'll just move this down, guys, now, talk you through the list so that you can see what those are rather than my face, which you probably don't want to see. Okay. Alright, so is that too close? There we go, that's probably about as good as it's going to get. Okay, let me turn these to face you, would probably be better as well, wouldn't it, eh? Oh no, you've randomly got them. Yeah, no, that's right. Okay, so we got, as part of the list, got Rebel High Command, so I get an additional card at the end of each round. I've got Fen Cygnus, who is a trooper leader and has some good surges. He's fine, he can boost the other troopers, which should be nice. So Trooper Assault, after a friendly trooper within 3 spaces resolves an attack, it may gain Assault. So I can only do that once a round, but it means that they may well be shooting twice, particularly with the Elite Rebels. That would be great. So I've got Elite Rebel Troopers, which are nice. They've got to move into position to get a focus at the start of the round, which might be nice. I've got some regular Rebel Troopers. Wouldn't normally take these, but they can go and get activation, go and get mission tokens and things, and maybe just be a menace. I've got Gideon, great choice there. He's got 2 great special actions to move things that in his line of sight and to focus them up, so not complaining about that at all. I've got Mac, who I see different opinions on, but he's cheap. He's got priority targets, so things aren't blocking line of sight for him. He's a spy, he's got a fantastic command card, as you'll see in a minute. And critical hit is a great surge ability as well. Loads of range with blue. I've got Loku, who's another kind of sniper. Got good special action, but it's difficult to set him up for it because it's a double action. I've tried him before and it can get a bit difficult. He's got some built-in accuracy +2, and he's pretty cheap really, and he can be hard hitting because of that red dice. And I've got Mern, who again is a spy, which is a great keyword. Chuffed to have the 3 of those. And has a really cool special action, False Orders. If stuff gets close to me, I can choose to perform a move or attack with their figures if they're cheap. Figure cost 3 or less. And she's got Field Report, so she can hide some of my figures, which might be interesting in a game if I have more command cards in my hand than my opponent. So again, that might work well with Rebel High Command. Okay, so I'm going to start having a look at my command deck. So I said before, what I do generally is I pull out the few command cards that I particularly like to have in a list, and then go from there. So I've got a few auto includes and my 0 point cards, so I'll pull those out now and show you what those are. Do I want that? Do I want that? Probably not. Okay, right, so these are my 0 point cost cards. So I have, do I want Fleet Footed? Yeah, let's stick it in there for now. And Celebration I like, let's get it in there. Right, so some of these may need to go, but let's get them out first of all, get everything that you want, and you can start cutting stuff when you're done. So I've got Element Surprise in there, great card. Not going to repeat myself too much, but going around the corner, shooting some in, then not getting a defense dice can be massive. Urgency, just to get around a bit faster, potentially get a shot off when there's 5 to a corner. You wouldn't normally be able to get there and take a shot. This means that you can, so you get a shot in, or potentially get into mission objectives and things. Take initiative. Now I've got a great target for it. Probably Mac would be my choice to tap for that, but being able to take initiative at a key time is massive, so I need that in there. Planning, I've got 3 leaders in the list, Gideon, Mern and Fen, and any one of those 3 I'd be happy to use one of their actions to get this, particularly if I can get those early in the round. I've got fleet-footed, so it's not an action, I just get a movement point, which can be really helpful. You can use it as an extra point of movement, or you can use it to move 1, and then you get, for example, Loku has still got his 2 actions for set your sights. Gideon can still perform his 2 actions, etc. Gives you some options. And celebration I like because, well, 4 extra victory points, doesn't take an action. You'll normally find a use for it unless you draw it late in the game. Even then you may well find a use for it. So I'm going to put these out of the way for a minute, but we know that I've got trooper, I've got leader, and I've got spy keywords that are big for me. So I'm just going to group those by type there in case I want to have a look at them again in a minute. But I know that I have 3 spies, 3 leaders and 3 troopers, which is a nice mix, and obviously Rebel High Command, which isn't really doing that much. So 15 command cards, so let's put that there, and we are at the moment 6 down. Okay, start looking through my other auto includes. Negation, pretty much always in there. Taking initiative is massive. Negating a take initiative can sometimes be bigger than taking an initiative because your opponent has been playing for this often, and they've overextended because they think that they're able to take the initiative. Negation can change that completely. If you draw it late, or if you don't need it for take initiative for any reason, or you just choose not to, you can also use it to cancel any other 0 point cards that your opponent's got, which can be great at times. No other kind of auto includes there. So what I'm going to do is move on to my specifics. So now I have got a couple actually, so I'm just looking through my 2 point costs here. And I've got Com Disruption and a Heart of Freedom. So as I flip through the 1s, flip through the 2s and think, right, what is really, I definitely want that in this list. And these 2 cards are both great. They're expensive. I might need to cut one of them later. However, Com Disruption in particular is fantastic. That is in this list with 3 spy cards. That's stopping a Son of Skywalker, that's stopping a Grenadier, it's stopping a Reinforcements, a Negation. It can be fantastic. So use when a command card with a cost of X is played, where X is equal to the number of friendly spies that you have. So I've got 3 spies. I can cancel any card with this until one of my spies dies. And then I've still got 2 point cost cards, etc. So it can be great. And I've got Heart of Freedom, which again can be really big. Recover 2, get rid of a harmful condition, and get 2 movement points. On some of my characters in particular, that might be really nice in this list, but let's just include it for now. Then I'm going to start going through my keywords. So I've got the trooper keyword, so I'm going to flick to my trooper page. So these are alphabetically sorted in here. I've got a page for troopers, and I'll show you that briefly. So these are the cards that I am looking at the moment. The glare on that is pretty horrible, I'm sorry, but I will go through them as well. So I'm going to be looking through each of those and seeing whether I think they're worth including. Rank and file. Use at the start of my activation, you and each friendly trooper adjacent to you gain 1 movement point. Could be nice for moving my rebel troopers into position, but adjacent, yes, I'm not going to be wanting to keep them adjacent a lot of the time. And 1 movement point isn't going to move them a long way, so I'm going to skip that. Provoke, I like this. Use after you resolve an activation to choose a hostile figure adjacent to one of your troopers or guardians. So I've got troopers. This could be a really good card. So then they have to activate whatever I am next to. So for example, these cheap rebel troopers that we don't think are great could just double move up to, say, C-3PO in my opponent's backline. They could make him activate next, which could be massive, because you would hope he's not going to have a big impact on the game, and then I can activate one of my good cards. So I'm going to put that in there. I might take that out. You've probably heard of this one, Reinforcements. This is an auto include with troopers. It's the reason why troopers are so prevalent at the moment. Fantastic. So use it at the start of the round. choose one of your defeated troopers that has a reinforcement cost of 3 or less. So that's my rebel troopers or my elite rebel troopers in this list. Obviously I want to really kind of use them on my elites to get the most value out of them. I place the defeated figure adjacent to another figure from that group, and he's back in the game. Covering fire. I'm going to include it. I like this. It's expensive. I might need to cut it. We'll have a look in a minute. Use at the start of the round. During this round, each of my troopers would gain a surge for stun, and if the target was already stunned, apply +2 damage to the attack results. Gives me an element of control, allows me to get an extra surge. So they have a surge for Pierce 2, but that yellow dice may well give me extra unused surges. So with the rebel ones, at least, covering fire I think is decent. With the Imperials, I probably wouldn't bother. They've got a +2 damage surge, which is normally what you'd be wanting to use. You probably haven't got a spare surge. Again, this is great with things like the jet troopers that are coming out as well, because they're likely to have the spare surge. May well get cut, but I'll keep it in for now. Grenadier, not as much of an auto-include as some people seem to think, but for me at least anyway. But I do like it. It's a great card. Choose a space, special action, choose a space within 3 spaces and roll a dice. Doesn't have to be in line of sight, doesn't say that. Each figure on or adjacent to the chosen space suffers damage equal to the damage result. So you might roll 1, you could roll up to 3, so it's between 1 and 3. I normally think if I count on getting 2, then that's less than that, I'm unlucky. There's only the one side, I believe, and more than that, great. But if I count on the 2, I'm more than likely going to be happy with the result. So that's a good card. Right, and that's my trooper cards gone. Gonna have a look at, so we said spy and leader next for my other keywords. So my spy cards handily are, funnily enough, thanks to the alphabet, just before the troopers. So I've got them here. I've got cut lines, behind enemy lines, intelligence leak, collect intel, data theft, strategic shift, and hide in plain sight. Slightly worried there might be some missing there, but I think one of those is comm disruption. And I'm sure I'll find out what the other one is, if there is one missing. From that, cut lines, used at the start of status phase. Players can't draw command cards during this round. Not a massive fan. It's alright, but often it'll hurt you just as much as your opponent. But I get that it carries on the spy theme of playing about with your opponent's command list, so no problem. Behind enemy lines, it's decent. Used during your activation while in your opponent's deployment zone to look at the top 3 cards of his command deck and return those cards in any order. It's a really strong effect, but it's quite situational in that I have to get one of my spies into my opponent's deployment zone. I probably don't want to choose that one for a point. Intelligence leak is one of my favourite, probably my favourite spy card in the game, so that is definitely going in. You can see the problem in that I've used my 15 cards now, and I think I'm over on my points as well, but we'll look at that in a minute. So used during your activation, look at your opponent's hand. You may choose and discard a command card from it, then suffer strain equal to that card's cost. So for example, you're not taking an action anyway, so it's great. You just get to look at your opponent's hand, even if you don't get rid of anything from it. You get to look at their hand for a point, is great. You can get rid of one of their 0 cost cards for free. Fantastic. For example, getting rid of Take Initiative. If you want to get rid of anything else, you pay strain equal to the cost of the card. More than willing to do that to get rid of, for example, reinforcements, possibly even Son of Sky, well, definitely Son of Skywalker. It's just whether you take them as cards off the top or damage at that point, but that's your choice. Always great to have, gives you some great options. Collect Intel is a point to have a look at your opponent's hand of command cards. It's fine in that, you know, it has the same effect as this, but you can't actually get rid of any of your opponent cards. So it's just an absolutely inferior version of this for the same cost. It's fine, but there's better options. Data theft sounds great. So it's an action to choose a command card in your opponent's discard pile. Once during this round, you may play that card as though it was in your hand. The problem is, a lot of the time, unless you're playing a similar list to your opponent, you won't have an opportunity for this. The first time I thought fantastic, I can play my opponent's reinforcements. I can, can't remember what other ideas I had, but most of them don't work because you have to have your activation first and use an action on that guy to use a card from your opponent's discard pile. So you can't play reinforcements because it's at the start of the round. You've already missed the trigger for that because you can only play it until the end of the round. So you're limited on what cards you can use. You have to have a similar hand to your opponent. For example, if I'm playing spies and he's playing spies, great, there's probably some good cards I can use there. Otherwise, not so much. So for a point, it's situational, it's an action. I'm probably not going to put it in there. Strategic shift is absolutely fine. It's an action, again, which is a little bit disappointing. But player of your choice shuffles his hand of command cards into his deck and then draws 2 cards. So if your opponent, like I talked about earlier, has rule by fear and planning and gets up to 7 cards on his first activation, you say no, get rid of that hand of 6 cards he'll actually have at that point, because he'll have bought 5 cards, he'll have played planning and chucked 1 for rule by fear. Get rid of your 5 cards, draw 2, and you're up on the command card game. Can work really well with Mern as well in this list, so I'm going to put that in because Mern has, if I have more cards in my hand than the opponent, I can start doing her false orders and hiding something, so I'm going to pop that in there. And the last one that I've got in here is Hide in Plain Sight. It's a special action until the end of the round, can't be the target of an attack. It's fantastic, however it's 3 points and requires an action, so I don't really like it. I've seen people use this, but I'm not a big fan. Right, that's that. So the only other keyword that we have left, I think, is leader. I'll go to that quickly. There's not a lot there. We've already got planning in here. That is a great leader card. The options for leader are, as you can see, quite short. We've got regroup, reposition, and we've got store for time. Store for time is leader or spy. It's fine, used at the start of the round. Opponent places a random command card from his hand on top of his deck. It's fine, it's a 0 cost card, and it's going to help me with Mern get more cards in my hand than my opponent. Could ruin his plans as well if he's been setting something up for a turn, and then I play this, could really mess with his plans. Regroup, discard harmful conditions from adjacent friendly figures. It's a special action, and I don't really think I've got anyone that's key to my plans in the same way as that, in a way that I might want to use that, so I'm going to leave that one. Things like Han, Chewie, Luke, you might want that for, but not so much in this list. Reposition, choose a small friendly figure within 3 spaces, push that figure up to 3 spaces. Great option to have, however it's a special action, it's got to be a small figure, it's on a leader, I get to push them 3 spaces. I mean, maybe with the Rebel Troopers, because they get, if they haven't moved during the activation, they get a bonus, but if I need to come back for it, I will. I don't think it's necessarily going to make the list though, because I've already got 17 cards here, which is a problem. I only need 15 of them. So at that point, I'm going to start counting up my cards. I'll leave that to the side, and I'll put leader there. I'll put that reposition card there, but I don't think I'm going to be using this. Okay, so then I'm going to count the points just to give me an idea of where I'm at. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I need to drop 3 points from my list, and I need to drop 3 cards from my list. So looking at those, where can I get those 3 points from? Which ones am I not that fussed on? So I've got provoke, which is a possibility. I've got covering fire, which is a possibility. I've got grenadier, which I'll think about dropping. Reposition, and possibly strategic shift. So out of those, I've got to drop 3 points and 3, and that one there. In terms of dropping cards, Store for time. I'll leave it for now. So I need to drop 3 points first of all as my first task. I could do that really easily, taking out covering fire. There's no other, I don't think, 1 point cost cards that I want to get in there that dropping anything else will give me the benefit of. Stealth tactics, siege plans, no. So what I'll do is I will drop covering fire from that list, I think, which means that Grenadier can stay. And then you start the process of, okay, so I've got 2 then 0 point cost cards. So this was a bit of a luxury, store for time. Given that we are cutting cards, I'm going to get rid of that one. And I don't know if I'm feeling the provoke, to be honest. I've only got a few characters that can use it, and I don't really want to run head first at my opponent, so I'm going to get rid of provoke. So that leaves me with 15 cards. I'm at 14 points now, so I've got a point to spare. So what I can do then, so first of all what I do then is look at the 2 point cost cards. Is there anything there that I want? No, I don't think so. I've got emergency aid. Not really. I've got a few leaders to allow that to recover 3 health, but I don't think that's really worthwhile. I've already got common disruption in the list, and I've already got Heart of Freedom in there. Turning to the 1 point cards, so now I could drop a 0 point card to get a 1 point card in, so it's whether that's worthwhile. So my options are things like hit and run, maybe. Not sure it's right for this list. Jump jets, meh. Focus is always good. That's a possibility. Strength in numbers, I do like that as an option. It gives me the option to do things like Loku and Mac, or the elite rebel troopers and Mac. I could do Gideon to push Fen, for example, and then activate him and go. So that's a real option. I like that. Field tactician, which is similar to reposition. So that's, well, I mean, it's better than reposition. It's not limited, and it's a move. So that is an automatic, really, if I want to get rid of that. If you have both of those in the list, you're always better going with that. So it's whether I want to have 2 movement cards of that standard. So I'm going to swap that. So leader's card, which is more specific, is back out. I can now play a better card, although it's within 2 spaces. It can now move a full move instead of just 3 spaces. I've got stealth tactics, hit and run, change of plans. Change of plans is nice, but because of the way that I've built the list, I haven't got as much synergy with it, probably. I could maybe get Gideon off twice by dropping Mern to give Gideon 2 goes potentially early on. That'd be handy. No, I think I will not do that though. Then we're back onto the zeros. So as it stands, let's have a look. Do I want to drop? So strength in numbers is what's tempting me at the moment. I've got to drop one of my other cards though, so it's what I lose for that. So look at my options. I've got element of surprise. Don't really want to chuck that one. I mean, strength in numbers is good, but it's not that good compared to that. Urgency, take initiative, planning, definitely don't want to. Fleet-footed is nice in this list because of the option it gives me, particularly with Loku. However, I think having a double activation, being able to use Gideon in particular to focus something and then hit it hard, is probably going to make me put that in. So I'm going to... all the focus. Yeah, I think the focus gives me more options. It's less situational, gives me more options. So I'll just check through my list now. So this is pretty much what I think is going to be my list now. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Ah, I'm back up to 6 points now. What have I done there? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, so let's forget that and take that back out. Proof that I cannot, in fact, count. So I'll slap that back out. Don't know quite what I've done there. I've just miscounted at some point, obviously. But I'm fairly happy with that list at that point. So I've got a lot of trooper cards here. Reinforcements, Grenadier. That's fine because I've got 7 trooper figures. I've got 1, 2, 3 spy cards. Common description, great. Strategic shifts, decent. Intelligence leak is fantastic, one of my favourite cards. Got Heart of Freedom in there, I really like that. I've got some of my favourite zero cost cards, Element of Surprise, Urgency, Take Initiative, Planning, Fleet Footed, Celebration, like all of those cards. And I've got Field Tactician just to give me a little bit of extra movement, maybe to get an objective or to get one of my troopers in position for a shot, or for Loku to get his set your sights attack. So that's my 15 points, that's my 15 cards, and that's me done. So about 25 minutes after talking you guys through it, how I do it. Normally it takes me about 15 minutes probably to come up with a list, and a lot of these you'll see similar themes. So hopefully this is demystifying it a little bit. It seems difficult, and I know for new players it's a lot to take in, but actually the core of all of your lists will be the same. If you've got a trooper list, they will have reinforcements, and they're likely to have Grenadier. They're very likely to, you'll always see these same zero cost cards a lot of the time. So if you're building a trooper list, you've got 9 of your cards there, 9, 10 of your cards. If you've got spies in there, you're likely to see these 3 are the ones that you see most often. Strategic shift doesn't always get in there, but Common Disruption, Intelligence leak are very likely to be in their deck. So you want to get those in there, and spies and troopers at the moment are in a good place for command cards. Looks like with Jabba's Realm, hunters will be getting there as well, which would be great, just to give us a bit more options. And they're, some of the command cards that they're releasing for that look amazing. They're deliberately trying, from what the designer notes, which was a great touch, the designer notes that they had alongside the recent article, Into the Palace I think it was called, talked about how they're trying to get away from having, pushing us towards troopers because they've got such powerful cards, by putting in cards for the other classes, things like hunters, spies, etc. So hopefully smugglers have got some good cards as well. So you've got smugglers, maybe close to being a thing. Spies are a thing I think at the moment. Troopers, yeah, solid as well. So hopefully with hunters that gives us some extra options. Okay, hopefully that hasn't bored anyone too much. Gives you a bit of an idea of how I build a list anyway, and a few people have been asking about command deck things, so I thought that might be helpful. Particularly one of my Patreons put in a request for command deck analysis and things, so hopefully this helps you, bud. If there's anything else that you want, just let me know what you want to see, and let me know your thoughts on keeping these specific to Patreon or putting them up on YouTube as well. I think it might be useful for everyone, but I want to keep something for you guys, so let me know. Okay, thanks guys.